You've got a PhD in nutrition. Does what
Man, I
you
don't use it.
I was just gonna ask, does what you learned in school align with your current practice and knowledge base today?
Nope, nope. What I do now is completely self-studied. I went after experts on the body. So I studied from a brain expert, a spine expert, a foot expert. That's how I got to this head to toe healing from studying people, studying specialists. It's just the specialists don't study other specialists, which keeps them in their specialty. It's just my specialty is apparently the whole body, but there's no school teaching that.
Well, I believe too that a lot of us are under the assumption that our records, especially now that they're computerized, that our records are shared with the different specialties. And yet people often find that specialty A is not really reviewing those records, and so perhaps they're prescribing something that has a contraindication with what another practitioner has described, but there's no cross-referencing there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cluster. It's a cluster. I know because my dad is a hot mess. He's in medical prison, as I call it, and things get messed up all the time. They get confused all the time. He's got a doctor for every part of his body, and it's a screwed up situation.
Does he listen to what you have to say when you're trying to help him, or is it just, "Well, he's
Yeah,
just my
no,
son, what does
no.
he
That's the
know?"
thing is he's incredibly proud. In fact, I just relocated him to a new dialysis clinic, and he's sitting there in the waiting room like, "Do you have business cards on you?" I'm like, "That these people are gone. They're gone. Like there's nothing I can do for anyone. You don't want to be passing out my business cards, please." So he's a proud dad. He firmly believes in what I'm doing. It's just he's too far gone. You know, a 78-year-old who, or 78 and a half-year-old who was that messed up, who's only being kept alive by the medical system, doesn't want to get out of the medical system because it's too scary of a thing,
Do
you
you
know?
believe that he's healable at this
Abs-
stage?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I do too. But it's too
Absolutely.
scary for him.
It's too scary for him. Way too scary. Yeah. And he's probably still alive because of me and my mom. My mom is the executor, if you will. So
As we women normally are.
yeah, yeah, Kevin says this, you gotta do this. Yeah. So, if it wasn't for that, he'd still be drinking soda and eating a ton of bread and, you know, sweets and whatnot. But he he eats pretty good, all things considered.
Mhm.
And he probably should be dead.
Do you see improvement in his condition with him changing some of those different variables in his life, like food and other things?
Yeah, at one point his lung doctor brought him from a stage 4 emphysema to a stage 3,
Mhm.
just from changing the diet. So we have seen things. And if he would stay on the path and listen and get off the drugs, then he would more than likely heal. I tell him all the time, you don't need to be on all these drugs. Keep your blood pressure medication, fine. Okay, keep your blood thinners, fine. Just keep those 2. Get rid of the other 13.
My parents were the same way. I was mortified with how many prescriptions they took. It was like those pill boxes that they have, those long ones for every day of the week, and there are 3 different sections for each day. They had 2 of those for each day. So there were 4 or 5, sometimes 6 sections for each day of the meds, and I just thought, "What?" It's frightening with all of that. Why does that happen? Why do we tolerate that? Is that we just don't know any better? It's just what we've been taught?
We're right back to programming.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
right
and
back to Santa Claus.
well, and the zeitgeist is changing, I feel, with my generation. I'm I'm a generation ahead of you at least, but my parents that were born in the '20s and certainly my grandparents that were born at the turn of the 20th century, they just if the doctor said it, they just did it. They didn't even question it. I think information is way more readily available now to the general population than it was back then. But are you seeing a shift in the younger generations of that there's less loyalty to just what they're told to do from the medical establishment?
I think that there's a lot of young people who have access to social media, and that's really the grand awakening because the information is there. So, but a lot of people in their 20s just don't care. The body may start breaking down around 30, 35, and then that's when they start caring a little bit. And then they'll go on their TikTok or their YouTube or whatever, Instagram, and they will do some research, perhaps find someone like me, and they'll just gain some information and some inspiration. And they'll start working their way out of the medical system a little bit. Yeah.
I believe that the work that I do, like I said, is part of the healing equation, and everybody is gonna be led down a path that their spirit wants to explore and experience, whether that involves what your dad's going through with lots of medication and the dialysis and how he's choosing to go down that path. Certainly with somebody like you who's his son, who has a totally different view of his treatment plans, and he can pick and choose what he wants to implement, and that's his prerogative. It's his life.
It's his life. He
Yeah.
feels like he's too far gone.
Mhm.
And if that's what he feels, then that's what he is.
Mhm.